You're listening to The Hurt Locker, the podcast that opens the door on men's mental health. And for tonight's guest, we have none other than Canadian comedian Sean Collins. Sean, welcome to The Hurt Locker.
Hey, great to be on here. How are you?
I am good. No, I'm not. I've been in a crap place recently. So,
What's going on?
yeah, life,
Yeah.
barely life, yeah. But I may talk a little bit about it. But, before we started recording, the energy that I got off you was like, wow, yes, this is going to invigorate me. So let's crack on with this. So, Sean, how are you today?
I'm all right. A bit sore. I hurt my hamstring. I went out and played football with my 9-year-old and friends, and everybody joined in the park. And I went to go for a cross, and I'm 58. What could I say? So I stretched my leg out and hurt my quad and my knee. And to top it all off, the ball went wide, so I didn't even score the goal. So Um, and to show you my kids, they just kept on playing as their dad
Of
was
course.
rolling on the ground in pain. So a bit sore, but but I'm okay right now. But I mean, I think with the world the way it is, and me and you have talked sort of before this, I think it's always a roller coaster of emotions for me. I always have to keep it in check, and it's a shame because well, I think that the way the world is designed and the way the press is, like I said, I think they want us in this constant frame of turmoil. I think that low vibration energy is what they want out of everybody, and you got to rise above it. But sometimes it's so difficult, it just is. So I'm with you on feeling good and feeling bad at times. So I do my best, but anyway, go for it. What's going on with you?
So, for our listeners, we can tell that you're not born or raised in England. Where are you from originally?
I'm from Ottawa, Canada. I was raised initially on a farm in a farming community. Um, and you know what? As I got older, my father moved. He worked in the city, but he moved us out to this place in the middle of nowhere. And I didn't realize why he was so desperate to get us out into a farming community where we had a little bit more land. Life was a little bit slower. We had 3 dogs. We lived by, there were cattle around us and stuff. And I didn't realize why he would do that till I got older and realized now that that was the dream. It was just beautiful. We had family. We had a close knit community of around there, and it just the city life. I can see why he wanted to leave it. He just wanted to raise us outside that, and it was great. It was wonderful.
What are you an only child, or do you have siblings?
I have 2 half brothers. My mom was married and divorced, then remarried, and then had me. And my father raised me and my brothers like they were his own. So he was a wonderful man. So
I can tell just by you recounting
yeah.
that you
Yeah,
firing of them.
I think it takes becoming a father to realize how awesome your father might have been. And just yeah. I mean, I think about him all the time, and it's such a shame the way life is set up because as soon as he retired, he got cancer. So, um, and then he battled that for 10 years. But I just think, it's not the way they've set up the world is not the way it should be. It shouldn't be working until you retire and then fighting cancer and then passing away. I just think it's a shame that that's the world that we live in. But I think I'm gonna be letting this dog in, and hopefully she behaves herself.
Not a problem.
You behave yourself, young lady.
What type
Yeah.
of dog is it?
There she is. I'll see if I can get her on that. It's a mongrel, a lab collie mix. So, but she's
Lab collie mix. Nice.
yeah, she's wonderful. She eats everything, and she's a pain in the ass, but she's been very good for my kids. So I'm pretty pleased with that. There, gave her something to chew on, so she's gone into another room.
So
Yeah.
tell me then, what did you learn from your dad as a father that you've been able to teach
I
Hebrew?
started to, I, I guess it was realizing that, yeah, the sacrifice. I mean, he used to drive 2 hours into the city, and sometimes it was in a blizzard, and he would come home. And then in the winter, he made an outdoor rink for all the kids in the farming community. He made it in our backyard, so he would come home and do that. He would water it in the ice cold, made the rink, and he put up boards. And all the kids were welcome to come over and play hockey, ice hockey, because it was done. Basically, it's football here, but it was ice hockey back in Canada. So all the kids would come over, and he would, you know, he just was. When you think about how little time, because he had three brothers or three sons that all played hockey, and he'd drive them to practice. So his weekends were always, he worked hard through the week. He would leave at 6 in the morning, get back at 8, sometimes 7 or 8 at night, and then, like I said, and then the weekends was all for us. So I think I learned that the sacrifice that you have to do is it's for me, it's realizing it's not about me anymore. I mean, it's about them. And the one thing that I feel for my kids is the state of the world right now. It's such a shitty place, and I mean, I feel blessed that I grew up in the '70s and the '80s. I do. I feel, there was hope. You could get a part-time job. Like we could, I moved out when I was 17 or 18 with my friends. We all had part-time jobs. We were able to afford a place and go live together, and quickly learned that I didn't know how to cook. So I went back home and paid attention to what my mom was cooking um, a little bit more. And but I think uh, it's just it's just a scary time right now, and I try to keep them away from it as much as I can. I'm I don't like the way the press is. I mean, I try to keep them away from the news because they just inflame. That's what it's all about, is to try to get people riled up. And,
I asked, how old are your children?
one is 17, turning 18, and he's going to start driving my car soon. So that's going to be a new kind of fear. and
Yeah.
and my other one is 9 years old. So, um, I mean, there's quite a distance or difference in age. The 9-year-old was sort of a surprise. Well, it shouldn't be a surprise anyway. It's not like I don't know how it works, but but it was a blessing because he's lovely. So yeah, I got two boys, and now I have a dog. So it's great. So and I know now. I mean, I used to push so hard in comedy, and I have a bit of a following now, and I'm lucky for that. And I see a lot of comedians that, and I could go out and do 60 nights in a row, try to set up that long tour, but it's just, from what I learned with my father, and from what I went through recently with the heart attack, um, I'm trying to balance it. I don't need that much. I just need to, I'll be honest, if I can cover my bills and be okay, and put food on the table, then I'd rather spend time. Sometimes I'll just say, no, I don't want a gig tonight. I want to watch, the Avengers with my 9-year-old, and that kind of thing. I just, 2 months away for me just doesn't do it anymore. So, you know, and the heart attack, like I said, I came off stage on February 21st at 10 o'clock, and at 2 in the morning had a heart attack, and 6 in the morning I was in recovery. By the way, the NHS is great if you're having a heart attack. Can I say that right now?
Love.
Yeah,
I love the NHS.
yeah. People who complain about it here have no idea what it's like, you know, especially in America. Like,
It's
you know,
awful.
that could have cost me my house, because, I mean, they looked after me, and they were lovely. And, um, it just, it was an incredible experience to see that side of caring, from the nurses, from the cardiac team, from the surgeon, because they genuinely are a blessing to have. And they gave me a second chance. It could have been a stroke. It could have been worse. My kids could have no dad right now. So I thank God, and I'm very, very happy to have this second chance, and I'm much better right now. It's just a shame the state of the world, but again, I'm going to enjoy. We don't know what's going to happen, but I mean, it just every time I turn it on, I think before we came on the air, I was talking to you about stuff that gets me down, and one of the things is the wildfires in Canada right now that are threatening the Indigenous population that can't get out, and I know Winnipeg, I know the people there, and it just breaks my heart, to see people they're literally showing pictures of the fire coming towards them with the wind, and there is no alternative. There's no way out for them, and I just think I just. But anyway, I mean,
But that's it. It's interesting you mentioned that because we've not seen sight of that in the media here. If there was wildfires globally, we'd know about it in Australia, we'd know about it in LA or Hollywood, but never in Winnipeg.
no, and again, if it was, I can guarantee you, and I don't want to make it seem like, I mean, how can I put this? If it was because it's native,
Put it.
because it's
Just put it.
indigenous, well, because it's native, because it's indigenous, they don't get the same. If this was an affluent white community that was going to be burned, I'm sorry to say, then that would be all over the news. But that's just my opinion on it. Maybe I'm being, it should be. You guys should know right now that there's an entire uh, community that's about to be burned up, and they should be rescuing them quicker. And it's just, I get frustrated with it. That's all. I just think, but isn't that the world that we live in right now? It's all about division, and they're very good at it. You guys had that horrible incident in Liverpool recently. That was horrible, and they were, the typical ones here where you could hear the almost hoping that it was a Muslim, a person of color, or a Muslim that had caused it. You could see the people just hoping that would be the case, and that's what we live in right now. Nobody, where that's their primary concern, rather than the fact that there are kids in the hospital, that there are innocent people celebrating. I mean, I'm not a Liverpool Football Club fan. I cheer for Tottenham, and I'm happy to say we got one.
I'm made up. You got your trophy, but yeah, I'm made up after what 41 years was it?
Yeah. I mean, what the hell did I come over here and become a Tottenham fan for? There's enough pain in my life, But yeah, I mean, it's just sad the way I gave up my BBC license. They send us letters and stuff, and I've even called them and told them, look, because I would rather not listen to everything that's on the news, because it just brings you into a state that I think they almost want. It's either anger or frustration or sadness, and I'm trying to keep a positive spin for my family, my kids, and for my own mental health. So I just can't be bothered watching anything they put out anymore, and I'm quite happy not to pay it, because there's other things to do.
Absolutely. Can I ask, off air, you spoke about your heart attack. Were you alone when it happened?
I'm in a really weird situation, and I'll explain it to you. My wife and I, we broke up. She was with someone else, and then that didn't work out. He turned out to be um, a bit crazy and stuff like that, and uh, we divorced. But then we stayed friends. I'm not one of these people that can just sort of say, okay, we have two kids together, and we remain friends for the sake of our kids, and we have a job to do. We have to raise our kids, so I am living back in the house in the back room, and she is in the front room, and we're best of friends. We're not married anymore, and our kids are here, and it works. It's quite remarkable, the situation I'm in, because when I was on my own, it's harder, I think, for people. I have a comedian friend of mine right now that finds it very difficult because he is alone. He's in his 50s and he doesn't have a partner, and he lives alone. And I found it when I was living alone difficult. I like having my kids around. I like having Claire around. Like I said, she is my best friend. And even though we're not married, and people find it weird, you're divorced and living in the back room. And I'm just like, you know what? Find it weird. But yeah, we still care about each other. We're just not a couple anymore. But that doesn't mean that we can't, the things that we loved about each other still exist. So, and I love being under the same roof. I love having people around. And yeah, I mean, we're a family, but not a typical family. Do you know what I mean? And
Well, the families come in all shapes and sizes, don't they?
I think,
But that thing about you spoke about 1 second chance, as it were, but I'm talking about the second chance following that heart attack.
yeah, I got, that's what it is. I mean, it could have been a stroke. It could have been it could have been, I could have had a heart attack and died. Like I could have had all that. And I mentioned about my dad, about the whole thing that's wrong in this world is, working till you retire, and then my dad getting cancer basically when he retired, and then spending the rest of his life battling cancer. And I just think maybe that's why, I've got this second chance. And I also, maybe that's why I'm not into going out on the road constantly, is because, if we have enough to get by, and I'd rather, like I said, watch a movie with my kids, or go for a walk with my dog and my kids, because that's what I remember. I mean, my father worked very hard, and but I'm sure he, and when he was dying, and I was with him when he was dying, I went back and flew back, and I watched this incredible man who was at like 220 pounds, who had lost all the weight to cancer, and he was very, very thin and frail, and everything we talked about when he was lying in the bed sick was things about, like I told you, about times on the farm when he made the rink, and laughing about us on the ice, and when we went fishing together. Things like that were the things that he remembered. And I realized that those, when you're dying, those are the memories that you remember. Like, I'm not going to sit here and remember the time I was on BBC doing the Michael McIntyre show. I'm going to remember spending time with my kids, or watching my son take my car away, wondering if it's never going to come back. And and even going out now and teaching him to drive, like that's going to be hilarious. I'm going to be nervous. We're going to go drive around. It's going to be a learning experience, but that's what it's all about. That's what life's all about. And I wonder,
having those memories. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
No, I don't want to cut you off as well, but I'm hoping that there's a shift in the world, that this turmoil, I'm optimistic and hopeful that people are waking up to exactly what we're talking about. I think more people are awake to the fact that it's set up wrong. Like, with AI coming, and how it's going to affect the workforce. It would be nice if the world, it's fine and dandy to say robots will take over and do this. Well, then let them. Well, hopefully it won't be like the Terminator, but let them, and then allow us to live. Because I just don't think, I think people are realizing, like, so many more people are going off grid. I don't know if you see that, but so many
I
other,
do.
yeah, they just don't want to do it. And there's a great guy on TikTok who sold everything, and because he's got a degenerative spine, and he just bought a sailboat, and he's been sailing around the world, and I just think, way to go, buddy. I think that's amazing. And now he's got a huge following and sponsors that are giving him stuff, and going, yeah, we should do that. You're right. It's because, working 5 days a week, 9 to 5, traveling back and forth from work and traffic, and then spending 2 days with your family is not what we were put on this earth to do.
Agreed.
And it shouldn't be. And it's, we have such a wealth divide now in the world, with billionaires getting richer, and when you hear, like, I try to tell this to people, like, they don't give a damn about us. So when I hear a government is willing to take away the winter fuel payment from the elderly, I just think, like, why was that even on the table? There's so many, don't tell me that there's a black hole. You're full of crap. It's just BS, like, when people get to retirement age, they should not have to make a choice between eating and putting on the heat.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
absolutely, absolutely. Do you what? Do you worry yourself about getting older?
Uh, I'm tired, dude. So I guess I worry for my kids. But
That's that's interesting. You saying that you're tired.
yeah, I am. I I mean, I don't have a lot of like, I am tired, and I just want my kids to have a good life and stuff like that. But of course I am. I've been doing this. I've been doing stand up for 32 years, and I've talked about it on stage in my hour shows. In fact, I had hoped to be bigger and better off now, and everything is a little bit harder. Those 3-hour drives there and back to a gig, you know, everything's a little more sore, and um, it was easier when I was younger to do these things, and so yeah, I find it harder. I mean, if I was, and not to mention every road in the country is closed after 11, so sometimes it takes me about 7 hours to get home anyway. But I get home and I'm legitimately tired, and but that's it. And I also realize too that I chose to be self-employed and do this, so there isn't a big pension waiting for me. So it looks like I'm going to be gigging till I die. So that's always in the back of my mind too, that I'm going to have to keep doing what I do. And you know, I I'd like to do one gig and then retire. One big gig, that would be enough for me. Um, when you look at it, I don't know if you feel this way with the wealth divide, but when you hear about, like, I couldn't. Someone said to me, "Well, wouldn't you like to be a billionaire?" And I said, I couldn't be a billionaire, and that's the truth about it. Because if I was even close to that amount of money, everyone in my neighborhood would have millions of dollars because I would just give it away.
Absolutely, absolutely.
'Cause
I
I could.
think I think it was quite telling. Somebody give me this analogy: the inauguration. Imagine if it was the wedding. Who would you have sitting with the bride and groom? You'd have all the relatives and that. And what did we have with Trump's inauguration? We had the richest people in the world all there in the front line. And that just spoke volumes for me.
The fact that there are people that believe he's a savior to the working class is just phenomenal to me.
It's well, it's frightening. I mean, going back to Farage, I went away with my son recently. He's young, and like most 16, 17-year olds, says very little, but eats a lot. But one of the conversations we had, probably the best thing about being away with him, was the conversation when he asked me, "Why are people so stupid?"
That's a great question.
You know, and he basically said, "Can't people see what he's about in terms of Nigel Farage?"
He, if he gets in, and I will say this, he makes no bones about it. If you don't hear that he wants to privatize the NHS, if
Yeah,
you can't, if you can't even see that, and you don't realize how dangerous that is, like, you have no idea. Like, I say to people, look, if you're in America, and he's already talked about the insurance system that they have in America and how much he respects it. It's not a good system. All right.
no,
You're paying a couple of thousand a month in America just to get coverage, and then when something goes wrong, as you know, insurance companies try to find a loophole so they don't have to pay you.
absolutely. And wasn't that one of the reasons why that healthcare CEO got killed
Um,
in America?
yeah, it was. And I think people are frustrated. I'm not condoning any kind of behavior like that, but people are, and it's going to get worse. And what people don't realize is once you take everything, and that's what they're doing. And I think it's almost what they want is complete anarchy. But once you take hope away from people, once you take their ability to feed their children away, and desperate times come in, um, you know, you're asking for civil unrest and everything else because you have no choice. When you can't feed your kids, someone will say to me, "Oh, he's stealing." Well, there's a reason why he's stealing. Like,
Absolutely.
but I mean, people, for the people to think that Nigel Farage is not racist, like it's just
Let's come on, look, right. Let's
he,
even let's look at the Conservative Party. People can say, well, we've got Kemi Badenoch as the leader of the Conservative Party. Doesn't that show that it's not a racist party? We know it's a racist party. It's been proven, and
reform's next level.
yes, it is next level.
You
And
know, I had, I had when I was in the recovering, all the nurses that looked after me were from either the Philippines and they were spectacular. And these were not, but you know what? Farage, when the media presents everyone who comes over here as a dole, like sponging off, and a lot of them are doing the jobs. It's not a high paying job, and it's not a glamorous job being a nurse. I'm sorry, it's not. I mean, and it's or midwives or whatever, and but I just think what a shame that Faraz doesn't see, because I sat and talked with people when I was in recovery from all over the world, whether it was the Philippines, whether it was here or there. And they were asking me about Canada, and I was asking them about the Philippines, and we were sharing that stuff. And it's so wonderful. You have to be so closed off and so angry to not want to hear what it was like for a young lady growing up in the Philippines and listening to her tell me her story about where she grew up. Why would I not think that's wonderful to hear and learn about that? I mean, and why wouldn't everyone embrace that? Why wouldn't you embrace somebody from another country coming in here and telling you how they grew up, and it's just, and we're going backwards because unfortunately in America it's just getting worse. um like it or not, that's what's happening in America. It's getting it's just getting hard in this world, and I just see it going backwards, and I'm just going, God, something's got to give, like, you know
what
um
made you come to the UK?
I because I wanted to experience a different culture. um I had comedian friends here. I'd basically done everything I could do in Canada. I did the Just for Laughs, and I had an hour special on there, and it was either go to America or come to the UK. So I came over to the UK and did some gigs, and I just loved it. And I think part of the reason I loved it is, like what I was saying, is, whether it was the Welsh, the Scots, or the English, was just learning new things, and sharing my stories from Canada with people in the UK, and then hearing stories about them growing up in the UK. And that's again what it's all about. It's but I don't know. I just think, and what's scary about the way the world is right now is you look at the polls, and reform is starting to push into the lead, and I just think, really, like, oh my God, like, please, come on, like, but our alternatives are just as bad. Like, this is my point. Labor isn't labor anymore.
No, it's not.
Labor is,
Definitely not.
they're just the Tories over and over again. Like, it's just so.
And it's
What
been in our lifetime. It's been in our lifetime that we've seen this shift.
Yeah.
But
I
where's
mean,
the hope? Well, where's the hope? The hope is through the children, wouldn't you say?
yes, absolutely. But we've got to make sure that they don't uh that they don't buy into the BS that that
Absolutely.
that they're being pushed. Like, like I said, I gave up my TV license for a reason, because I just couldn't stand what the BBC was spouting, and all of them, and GB News and all that, and what they talk about and how they do it. And I understand, when people go, oh well, they're all coming over here on boats. Do you know how dangerous it is to come over here on a dinghy to try and start a new life?
Listen, there's in terms of immigration, there's more people who come through the airports than bloody go on boats,
Yeah.
you know, but they just happen to have money.
Yeah. Well,
They just happen.
and a lot of the other ones are coming because, well, I don't want to say it, but I mean, they're coming from war-torn countries that we've sold weapons to cause the the war
Yes.
torn. So I mean, I don't know.
Come on,
I
then. Let's focus on you now.
on me, yeah, all right. I've written I'm writing something right now that I'm looking forward to doing, that I'm hopefully filming. It's about that's what I want to do. That's where my passion is right now. Is it's a sort of, I wake up in a room, locked in a room, and it turns out that a heckler that I ripped into, and the words come out of my mouth, why don't you just go kill yourself? And it turns out that he does, and his son ends up kidnapping me, putting me in this room, and that's the whole thing, is me in this room and with a camera on me.
Is this the Canadian version of Old Boy?
Ah, maybe no, because it'll be a UK version. It'll be here in the UK. I'm gonna try it anyway and see. I've got some. I did a documentary film with a studio during the COVID thing, um, and that studio is interested in filming this, and it would be an easy film because it's just in one room, and you just have a voice of the person that's angry at me. So it's funny, and it's also kind of scary at the same time. But I'm just going to try it, because one of the things, as you get older, you realize there's so many times where you sit there and go, "Oh, I should have done that." Well,
Life is short.
yeah, I'm just going to do it. I'm 58. I don't know how much longer I have. Hopefully this stent holds. I'm going back. My mom's 89 and she's still kicking, and I'm going back to Ottawa to do a show in my hometown in September and see her. Um, again, because you don't know how much time you have with her, and so I'm looking forward to seeing that, and my brothers and family. And I guess one of the things that the heart attack did for me was make me enjoy and embrace things that I took for granted before, and time, and I'm gonna do as much as I can to show love. And I haven't always been a good person. I know that. Um, you
Why
know,
not?
uh maturity, and sort of, kind of figuring out what life should be about. And it's just, we're living in their world, and their world is awful. And they're trying to keep that world. And that's what I love listening to people that are talking about the fact that what we're witnessing right now is the complete fall of capitalism, almost, in a way. Like it's almost like Rome is burning right now, because America, it's all burning, and they're desperately trying to keep the old system together, which is 2% of the population having all the money and everything
Yes.
else, and all of us working for them. And it's, what's that movie? There's a cartoon movie about ants and grasshoppers, where the ants finally wake up and realize, wait a minute, we outnumber the grasshoppers, so why don't we just, and we do. There's more of us than them. We gotta come together, and I hope we do. What's that?
It was called Bug's Life or
Yeah,
Bug's Life.
that's it. Yeah, you know the one.
Yes.
That's basically the world that we live in right now. And it's funny that they show it in a simplistic film like that, but it applies to our world, you know. So yeah, I do that. I thank God. It makes you get in touch with the concept of, for me, near death made me think about the fact that this can't be it. That there is. I don't believe that it's just you live, you die, and there's nothing. I do believe that you move on, and I almost I almost think this is a prison planet that we're on right now, and maybe, and I do have hope for that. So I do hope that I'm going to see my father again, and my aunt and my grandmother and my grandfather and all these people in my life. I do hope for that.
It's interesting, Sean. Just received a question from a listener called Keith. He says, I am recovering from a cardiac arrest, as you did in February. I have been pondering if we do live once, as many people used to say to me. I'm starting to feel we live every day and die once. That's my opinion. What's yours?
We die once, yeah. I don't know. I think, fuck, that's a tough question. And by the way, please pass on. I understand what he goes through with recovery, because you do go through these incredible thoughts of, do we come back to this world as somebody else, or do we move on to another realm or whatever? And um, yeah, I don't think I don't think you live. You know, do I believe in heaven? Ask the guy if he does chirp in, if he's talking about heaven. Is that what he means? That we die and we go to heaven and that's it? If he could, if that's what he means by it. Um, because
Yeah.
I sometimes wonder if the religions, that there's a difference between spirituality and religions, and
Yes.
leave it to man to make religion complicated and almost, uh, you know so I don't know, like, there's so many different ones. I just think we're gonna find out, aren't we?
We
And
will. We will.
you know God, I don't want to come back.
Can I ask, having this near death experience, it strikes me that, and you said yourself, you find a balance of what's important. You found
Yeah.
purpose and meaning in your life now.
Yeah, I there are so many people in the world worse off than me.
100%.
Like, even the heart attack, the knee that's gone now because I thought I could play like a 9-year-old again. Um, there are so many people that don't have a roof over their head, and that can't pay their bills. And Claire and I, we've got our bills covered, and I don't make a ton of money, and but I make enough to put food on the table, and enough to, go to a movie with my kids, and that is amazing, because there's so many people worse off. And
Absolutely.
I'm very thankful for that. So, um, like I said, I'm one of these people now that I guess I realize I don't need a lot. And when you're sick, you can have all the money in the world, I'm sure, but when I was sick, when I had that heart attack, that's the only thing that mattered at that time, was my health. And you can have all the money in the world, but if your health is bad, or if you're going through that, that's the only thing that matters. So whether I had money or I didn't have money, um, I just wanted to be around for my kids, and my dog, and my mom and my brothers. And you sit there and think, God, I was in the ambulance riding there going, shit, should I call my mom now, and just in case, or like, so um I just thought, if this is it. And that's why I also think, you gotta show your love to the people around you every day.
Is it easy to do that?
It is for me now. It is, I hug my kids all the time. You know, I tell them I love them, and they tell them they love me when we're going out. Like, it's great hearing it from my 17-year-old, because you know how they are. You have a teenage son, but um, I'll just, he'll leave the house and go to the gym, and I'll just say to him, "Love you," and he'll say it back to me, and it's I didn't used to say it to him all the time, but I do now. But he says it back all the time, and it's great. And there was one time, um, he said to me, my 17-year-old said to me, because he was hugging his mom, and I said to him, I said, how come you never give me a hug? And he said, because you never want a hug. And he said, come here. And then I was just like, you know what? Hug me anytime you want. And so I do now. And it's just, it was me. And he said that. He said, Dad, you're angry.
Good. Okay. Good.
So I learned something from my 17-year-old. He said, why are you angry? And I said, what do you mean? He said, you've got anger. You've got underlying anger. And he was right. And I talked it out with him, and then afterwards hugged him. And I just said, wow, it's weird when your 17-year-old teaches you something, and he did, and he was right. So I think we don't give them as much credit as but this younger generation that's coming up, we might have been a bit more closed off. I think when we were in the 70s and, growing up, it wasn't, you didn't, yeah, my dad did everything for us and it was great, but there was never those moments of, I love you, Dad, all the time, but now this younger generation expresses themselves more, I think.
Good.
And he nailed it right on the head. And so does my 9-year-old. And, I showed up, we still got a little bit of time, and I don't want to bore your listeners and stuff like that. But
You're not the one.
my son had his sports day, and I always look at it this way. It's, when the kids are all out on the field, right, for their sports day, and then you walk in, look at your kid's face when you show up for that sports day, when they see you and they wave hello to you, and the fact that you're coming to see them, and they're so happy that you've shown up, and they wave hi, and you realize, that it's such an amazing feeling. So I
Absolutely.
want, it's so important to them that you're there. That's the point I'm trying to make. It doesn't matter, because there's different levels of parents that come to where my kids go to school. Some are wealthy, some don't have a pot to piss in, as my mom would say, right? It doesn't matter how much money you have, because if they see you and you're watching them do their sports day, that's all they care about, which means that all they want is for you to give them your time. They don't care what you do, So I when I get off the phone here, or get off this show with you here, I've got the second half of a movie to watch with my 9-year-old. He's going to be happy too, because looking at the time, he's going to be up late. So that's
That's a win-win.
yeah. So we're going to get our snacks together, and we're going to watch the second half of Captain America, and it's going to be amazing. So he'll cuddle in under my arm, and the dog will be on the bed with us, and that is what I mean by the important things. So,
Sean, you know what? I would love to talk with you again, most certainly.
anytime, man. Get my number. Call me.
Certainly. Can I ask, what's been the hardest period in your life?
The hardest what?
Period in your life.
The hardest part was when we divorced and I had to leave the home and I wasn't with my kids 24/7. That was the hardest. I was such a hands-on dad anyway, and the whole thing about them coming over or being here and sort of having it just didn't seem natural to me. I just like being there when they're sick. I like being there when they wake up. I like, it's not all great. There's times, yeah, but I mean, that was the hardest time for me in my life. Um, and then I quit booze. I quit alcohol, which I think was affecting me as well. I've been sober now for coming up on 3 years.
How's that been for you?
Good. It's hard in a world where going for a pint is sort of the natural thing you do with your friends, you know? But I've learned now that I can go into a pub and just have soda water and hang out with my friends. It doesn't bother me. It's been great giving up alcohol. I partied hard for too long. Um, I always had a beer on stage. I was drinking on the weekend, and I started to think to myself, it can't be good. And sure enough, it did affect my liver. So, which my liver recovered, but it was because I quit. And so I just stopped doing that. And I think not enough. Um, I know in Canada they legalized cannabis. Here they would never do it, but I think not enough people don't talk about how much damage alcohol does to families,
Yes.
to, uh, to communities, to your health. Um, it's one of the things that they seem to promote, and it's worse than any drug. That's so I'm just glad I got out of that. Like I said, the second chance that I have, I'm going to be the best person I can be. And, I'll say this on your podcast. If I upset or offended anyone in the past that they remember, I apologize. And all I can do is say that I'm not that person anymore. And, I feel good about myself. And that's important.
How have your kids taken to their new daddy?
Uh, Joel thinks it's pretty good. Claire, my ex, their mom quit alcohol as well. So we're in a situation where we have, and lucky enough, my 17-year-old son doesn't like it. So maybe because we quit or he saw that we gave it up, he said to me, it's very difficult for him to go to his friends' parties because they all get drunk and he doesn't drink. He goes to the gym and he plays the guitar. So that's what he likes to do. And he said it's difficult going to parties and when you don't drink because they all say, "Oh, have a drink," and he doesn't want one. So, which I respect the hell out of him for, because at 17, there's pressure. So,
Absolutely. Can I
yeah,
ask? Can I ask you what's in your hurt locker?
pain wise,
Yes.
I'm lucky enough to have dealt with it. I recently did a thing. What am I still carrying? I think I got rid of it. I think I got rid of most of it. I mean, I still try not to dwell on the past. And I was abused as a kid by my piano teacher, and I talked about it in my show. And that I was carrying that till my mid-20s. Um, my hurt locker would have been, in my single days. I think how I treated women. Um, just drinking and sex kind of thing was the main thing that I wanted to do. And I think I missed out on a lot of getting to know people. And I wish when I was younger I would have given more people a chance to. But I was a pleasure monkey that was into, uh, just getting high, making people laugh, and getting laid. That was it. And you kind of come around to. Well, it took me quite a few years. I'm 58 now, man, and I almost wish I would have figured it out earlier. So, but there's still time, isn't there?
Absolutely. There's still time.
So,
Can I
uh,
ask,
yeah,
have you ever contemplated suicide?
yes. When the breakup happened, I was up north and thought about it. Took off my tie and was going to and looking up at this fan and thinking I could put it over there. So yes, I did. And then as I thought about it more and more, I was hammered too. I was drunk. I had gotten really drunk because, um, and then just thought about it, and then kind of snapped to and thought about the pain that it would cause my kids. That's what stopped it. Was the pain that I can't imagine them having to grow up without a father and also having to say, oh, my dad killed himself. So that's what kind of stopped me. Um, so who knows? Maybe if I didn't have children, I would have gone through with it, which, would have been sad.
How does it feel sharing that with listeners?
Oh, I don't mind. I mean, I think it's important, because I think there's, I think more men. One of my favorite uh, one of my favorite people from Liverpool is Paddy the Baddy, is the UFC fighter, and part of the reason I cheer for him and like him, he lost a very close friend um, to suicide, and he's very much into. He always tells people to talk. He always tells people to pick up the phone and call, because he was genuinely in tears, saying, talking about how he wished his friend, instead of killing himself, would have just called him, because he could have talked him out of it. So he always encourages people, and I will do the same and say that to anybody. The one thing I found that when I got this following on Facebook, I got about 500,000 now on my Facebook fan page, and I say to them when I go live, I say, look, if anybody's down, to message me. If you're trying to give up alcohol and you're having difficulty, to message me. And I get so many, and
Brilliant.
we just go back and forth and talk. And I've made phone calls, and I've had people talk to me about it, and they thank me. And but it's just, there's a lot of people in pain, a lot of guys in pain.
It is.
And those guys feel like they're betraying being a man by speaking up, and you're not in any way. So
I think there's
just
something
call.
in there.
It feels so good.
And
It feels so good to talk.
absolutely. I think there's something in that, the societal pressures of men not to be seen as vulnerable.
Yeah, I know. And I can tell you, it's not worth it. I mean, when I went to group therapy in my 20s about the abuse from my piano teacher when I was 6, because I was working at the hospital at the time, and I went to therapy for it. Just, I always thought when I went into therapy that it was going to be, when you go into it and you think to yourself, oh, what am I doing? Or is this going to be a waste of time? But when you're in a circle of people, men, a lot of men, and you start sharing, and you start seeing the pain around all of them, and the relief that they can just talk to it without any judgment, you realize how much it's needed.
Absolutely.
So it is needed, and more men have to do it. And maybe Nigel Farage could sit down, and we could find out what's caused him so much.
To find out what's in his hurt locker. Yes, indeed.
What hurt him to the point where he's such a vile creature. So, but yeah. So yeah, that's the message. Talk to a friend. Pick up the phone. If you do follow me, message me. I'll message you back without a problem.
Good.
So
Who's the most important person in your life?
my kids, both of them.
No. You can only pick one person.
Oh, you can't do that. No
Oh,
way.
I can.
No, you can't. I've got 2 kids, and you're asking me to choose the most important. No, I'm not even gonna.
Remember Sophie's choice.
That's not what this. You're not gonna get me there. There's no way you can get me to answer that.
Okay. Okay, let me
But-
this. The most important person in your life is you.
I see where you're going with that, because if you look after yourself, then you can look after the people you care about.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And the only way you can give them 100% is to be okay with yourself. So I understand completely what you're saying, and it very, very well put. So that's the trick question, isn't it?
It's not a trick question. Come on.
Yeah, you knew
Come
I was
on.
gonna. You knew I was going after my kids right there, and you were coming back with Sophie's toys and all that. Yeah, you knew it. You set me up, man.
Nah, I wish I was that clever. I'm not that clever.
Don't kid yourself.
You know.
You are. Look what you're doing right now. Look at this podcast that you're doing. You know, you're helping, and that's really good. So keep doing this.
Thank you. Sean Collins, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for being on.
I expect you, if I'm up in Liverpool, to come and meet me and see the show.
Oh, please let us know. Let us know when.
All right. Cool.
You know.
Thank you for having me on. I hope I didn't bore your listeners. And
not at all. Not at all.
All right.
It was
powerful.
Thank you. And that's a wrap, Tim.